It's emerged that the bulk of funding for research to wipe out disease-spreading pests, such as malarial mosquitoes, comes from a US military agency. And the environmentalists who've traced where the money's been coming from are concerned that the technology being developed might get misused or even lead to an ecological disaster.
What's concerning about a gene drive is it's a genetically engineered organism that's designed to spread, and it will spread inexorably until it takes over an entire population. So that means you just have to release one single specimen of this organism, say a single mosquito or a single mouse, and then through sexual reproduction it spreads its trait until it takes over. There's a strong concern that you could use a gene drive system to spread a deleterious trait. You could, for example, try to cause a harvest to fail. Or there have been suggestions that you could genetically engineer a flying insect, such as mosquitoes, to potentially deliver something that's harmful and then spread that through a whole population of mosquitoes. If you have a military agency or a couple of military agencies in the driving seat of a technology that could be used as a very powerful carrier for a bioweapon, obviously the question comes up of whether it's going to have dual use.
Well, as you heard there, the main aim of the gene editing research is to modify species' DNA so that the desired changes then spread through the population. However, given the potential for abuse, the United Nations is considering a moratorium on the project. Emails obtained by the ETC group show that the US military has invested $100 million in the project so far. The US Defense Department's DARPA agency has 7 research groups on this at the moment, all working on the biological engineering. But many of its activities are believed to be kept under wraps in the interests of national security. Jim Thomas again describes how the development of genetic modification technologies has progressed over time.
We knew that the US military was interested in gene drives and were funding to a certain level, but what's become clear is they're probably the major funder of gene drive research and development. The files seem to suggest that they have, in the case of DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, around $100 million worth of funding. The idea of a gene drive which spreads a genetic trait through an entire population is a potentially very powerful carrier for a bioweapon. They say that the reason they're interested is so they can pick up this bioweapon if it was used by hostile actors, that they could be able to detect and monitor and disable gene drives as a bioweapon. But what's concerning, of course, in the process, they're actually building this technology and acquiring the ability to use it. Although it's known that there's these military potential uses, the field is always described as being about trying to deal with malaria or trying to be conservation uses. But what we're now discovering is it's the US military that seems to be significantly in the driving seat.
Well, here's DARPA's response to some of the concerns raised over its genetic research. It says the project has been mischaracterized and that it's committed to being fully transparent.